Okay, everybody, here we are live with Oren Elkayam, the CEO of Mobilicom. I'm really excited for this interview, Oren. I've seen you on social media, and I've had to research the company a little bit more because what's happening in the drone sector right now is really interesting to me. So thank you for joining us. Just before we get started here, a couple disclaimers. There's a disclaimer I dropped in the comments section. But before we begin, make sure to refer to that disclaimer. I'm just in the process of getting a new website set up. So give me time with that. It's going to be all interactive. I'm excited about it. But as a reminder, everyone, I've started charging fees to cover the cost of my research and interviews. They take a long time to set up. And so I just need to make sure I'm accounting for my time. So as a full disclosure, Disruptor Investing LLC has been engaged by Mobilicom to provide investor awareness and media services, including this interview, and is receiving fees for these services. We may also hold positions in the securities discussed. As a full disclosure, I do hold a position in Mobilicom, so I am a happy.
Thank you.
I'm a happy shareholder. And also, this conversation is for informational purposes only. It should not be relied upon for investment advice or a recommendation to buy or selling securities. The content may contain forward-looking statements. These statements involve risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results to differ materially. And as I always say, please conduct your own due diligence in making investment decisions, and this is not financial advice. All right, so now that we're through with that, Oren, I'm really excited to interview you. My followers will know that I covered a company pretty in depth in your sector called Amprius a while ago before they inflected, and that's a battery company. Which basically has a superior battery product that's able to go into a multitude of drones and robots and things of that nature. I was lucky to get in there before they inflected. And when I'm analyzing your cybersecurity product, it's pretty similar to me. And you're actually in a pretty similar situation as to when I started covering Amprius as well, where you're relatively agnostic. You can go into a multitude of drones. I've seen that you're in some tier 1 drones. From my research. And I'm excited because when you're agnostic like that, right, you can go into celebrate the successes of a lot of drone manufacturers, especially for you right now. So I'm excited. And for my followers in general, probably they maybe not have heard of your company at this point. Can you just give us, maybe to start at a broader picture, what Mobilicom does? And for anybody who might be new to your company?
Yes, definitely. So first, thank you for being a shareholder and believing in the company. I didn't know that, but I will introduce Mobilicom shortly for those that are not familiar with the company. So basically, at Mobilicom, we are developing for many years a very essential IP technology and know-how in the field of drones, robotics, and autonomous platforms. And in this area, we are providing the cybersecurity, the software solution, and the hardware solutions, which are the heart and soul of the drones or robotics. Those are the elements that allow them to communicate, allow them to operate, allow them to safeguard themselves against different attacks and so forth. We can say that Mobilicom, in essence, is in the convergence of 3 major trends investment-wise. We are in the drones space. We have cybersecurity and the leaders in cybersecurity for that drone market. And we are in robotic autonomy, which position us very well with what we believe is a hyper growth stage of this industry worldwide that is ramping up in amazing pace, and the revolution that is happening is mind-blowing from day to day. For the business of Mobilicom, we started essentially many years ago with our hardware solution, providing different hardware elements that enable you to communicate between the drone, the operator at the beginning, and later on in very complex solutions, also fleet and swarm, cluster of drones or robotics operating together. And our uniqueness is hardened, secured hardware solution, and that's the unique thing. And later on, we continue with the different software solution and cybersecurity to expand the needs and cover the gaps that are in the industry. And that was the second, let's say, call it a division of Mobilicom. I think that Our hardware solution was widely accepted in the United States. We've been endorsed by the government. In 2025, we locked different certification and regulations with the government, starting from the Blue UAS select program that we were select and validated by the government for the drones of America, the defense, commercial, the defense and homeland security one. We trusted cyber validation with NDAA verification and the electromagnetic map of the US DoD process. All of that was accomplished. I think that just recently we've been receiving the Department of War trusted drone process very far, one of the first companies to achieve it a few weeks after the regulation has passed. And I can say that it's a walled garden right now of companies that can act in America and deliver to drones, which are American drones for the government. And there is only few players. And over there, we are making about up to 60% gross margin, which is very steep for hardware. And on the software solution, we came with different software elements to overcome the electronic warfare that we see around the world that is crippling or taking down drones, and brought the eye suit that fortify the drones against different jamming, interception, and so forth of the communication, and continue with the cybersecurity of the autonomy of drones platforms or robotics platform based on NVIDIA and Qualcomm AI machines. And that's the OS3, the Operation Security, Safety, and Standard Compliance. And that's validate our software offering, which is with about 90% gross margin of solution. And that's unique business model that we bring to the industry. So we have a company with array of hardware, software, and cybersecurity solutions selling to all drone manufacturers with steep gross margin, with already strong investor in hand, strong customers in hand, which are right now ramping into mass production, which is validated, approved, and working and deploying with the US government, but also in Europe and Israel.
Yeah, and just to give some broader context on just what's happening in the United States, if some of you saw the Pentagon release their budget recently, and 75 billion of that is for drones. And so when you actually look at the drone sector in general, is that like almost double, triple the size of the entire sector? When I was looking at it,
it was been tenfold of what I know. I mean, every time that in the last year we spoke about million here, million there, few programs of billion here, billion there.
Yeah.
And there was the different programs they initiated in the past, this government of the Replicator 2, each one of them $1 billion, now exceeding and asking $70 billion for drones is, somewhere out on the sky. And that shows how fast this industry is going to scale. On one hand, there is enormous budget here on the US side and also in Europe and other markets. On the other hand, there is very small amount of companies that are validated and approved to be used. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't think investors truly understand. We talk about thematics often with my followers, and just the absolute ramp in drones especially is incredible. Robotics obviously as well. If you haven't been to the Mobilicom website, I'd encourage you to do it. Just go to mobilicom.com, because you can truly see how the hardware solution that Oren's talking about here gets embedded into into a lot of these drones, right? And a lot of these, and it's not just drones in some of these forms, you also have robotics, right? And they're going in as well. And some of the things that can happen also with these drones in terms of being taken over in the security of it, I was stunned as to how much security goes in this. And so if you're telling me you're one of the few providers who can actually do this in the United States, provide the security, I knew you're NDA compliant and Blue UAS. I saw that, but I didn't know about the recent one that you just mentioned previously about that. And so when you're talking about basically becoming a gold standard, right, for security for drones, as I'm seeing you as kind of defining you here, can you tell us why security really matters, like in these autonomous vehicles and these unmanned ones? Can you tell us why this matters and some of the things that can actually take place? Like, is it true that they can actually, if you're sending in a drone, somebody can take it over if it's not secured? Is that?
I mean, we've seen that happen numerous times, and there are very important milestones in this history that happened recently. But going back to why security is important, I think it's very simple. The revolution started by the fact that you had drones that are controlled by one pilot, so one pilot to one drone operating a mission, could be commercial application, could be defense application, and then we continue to the fact that you want, because you have to deploy so many drones into action, you want to have the ability to control a fleet. And therefore, one pilot cannot control the flight. He has to master the drones 5, 6, 10, 20, and tell them generic things like go to that location, search for that enemy, then observe, and if needed, attack and take it down. Something like that, okay, in general terms, and just overseeing the mission. And if you do that, you need autonomy. You need each one of the drones to be able to get very general rules, and then obey to that and master that and work together. So they have to be autonomous, fly by themselves, and control all of their elements to do that. Once you have drones with autonomy that are making decisions by themselves in order to master clusters and fleets and swarms later on, then it's very tricky, because then you also are in a big risk. Because let's assume that this small drone is carrying a bomb that you put on that, but it has autonomous decisions, and you can access that computer inside because it wasn't protected cyber-wise, and then you can send it back to the origin with the bomb. That is scary. And things like that are happening. And therefore, you cannot have autonomy capability, which is achieved by different AI computers at the edge, at the drone platform, without proper protection. Like you will never imagine to go on a Waymo self-driving car that picks you up in San Francisco if you knew that someone can hack it outside, a girl and a boy, from any computer, and then stop, close the doors, or God forbid, and make an accident. Yeah. And I'm not speaking in general, things like that are happening. And so you will never choose a bank or a doctor provider or so on that you believe that their information is not protected by firewalls and other sets of solutions. And in this case, we allow ourselves right now in the drone industry to use drones with some autonomy, with zero cyber protection. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. And it's usually for the small size drones, which are the group 1, group 2, the mass market of many drones in the hands of the soldiers, backpack size up to 25, 50 pounds. And that means that they are they are not so small, highly capable, very dangerous, and yet they are not protected cyber-wise.
Yeah, it's a vulnerability, right? Something that you just can't have.
I don't think that, it's like working on your Wi-Fi. Let's assume that you're a bank, and you are giving access to your system via Wi-Fi, which never happens, and you allow it without any password. And everybody can go into this thing, and then not having different basic elements that can run on the drone dynamically all the time, seeking for vulnerabilities, alerting where something is hacking or trying to attack, and then protecting immediately. Dynamic cybersecurity like that is essential for every platform, let alone a war machine with a bomb on the edge.
And you're saying the government has just approved you recently so that you're one of the few providers who can provide this type of security?
I'm saying that in the hardware solutions part, there was a process, and this is our communication solution, the Skyscraper, very famous family of Skyscraper with multiple different elements that was tested and validated and used across different solutions. And yes, it was validated. And on the back of that, there was a new, the ICE, the electronic warfare, and the electronic warfare and security for the data link, which was also validated by governments, as well as by it's combat proven, and the US government, like others, and the project have validated that. And on top of that, we have the cybersecurity of the NVIDIA and Qualcomm AI machines for drones, robotics, and the autonomy capability. and that was another solution that we released. So yes, we have series of solution from the operational side and hardware side, which is mandatory to begin with, to software and cyber that enable you to protect, operate, and actually do the mission. Without them, you cannot guarantee the mission, and more than that, you are risking the lives of others.
Yeah, and that, I think it's just amazing to hear you say it, because you don't truly understand it unless you're in it. And so there's only so much I can read and research to truly understand just the impact of this and how it's inflecting too. And so one of the other things that I saw recently is you had a pretty big order come through,
Yes.
right? And I'm a person who looks for inflections in companies. That's how I invest. I try to find companies right before they're about to inflect. And here I saw, I think it was Ben, when he was interviewing you, said you had a very large order from, what was a program of record. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the recent publication that we've made, I think it was about a week ago, was about a deal that we received from one of the biggest, I think I will classify them as number one in America for small size drones or robotics, but let's say for the safe side, one of the top 2-3. And they are working across the commercial as well as homeland security and definitely defense in America. They won a program of record with the government based on Mobilicom solution embedded inside. And this program of record is supplying the government, in this particular case, the Marines, with the loitering munition, drones that are able to go, observe, do surveillance, and then because they are a bomb themselves, they can then intercept or crash and explode on the target. The target could be enemies, it could be armored vehicle on the other side, stop them, cripple them, and then take them down. And so it's a very sophisticated tool that you can operate from remote. But the important thing, it's loitering munition or kamikaze drone that doesn't come back. It's one-way ticket drone. And that's a very powerful tool for the Marines. The Marines worked on this program seeking for the right solution and developing the concept with different companies for the last over 4 years. There were many contenders in the beginning, and then it was eventually in the shortlist was three companies were selected for the shortlist, and then our partner won the budget. And we with them worked for many years in order to enable that and meet all the criteria that are required. And we have the Scalper secure data link solutions inside, and we have the electronic warfare elements software inside. So we have multiple assets inside the drone and the ground station. And that's the project. The project was now in the project right now, and the PO right now is accelerating the deployment into the first battalions. Okay. Yeah. And as you all know, the first forces to send anywhere in the world by America to defend us, or to, for example, the Iranian Gulf right now, are the Marines. So if someone has to be on the ground and intervene, those are the Marines that are coming first. And the reason I'm saying that, they are a very important force for the United States, and first to encounter, they need the most advanced technology on that hand. And they are deploying right now 2 battalions, and the first 2 battalions is just the beginning. They have something like 80 battalions, and from the moment you start deploying the first battalions, and they are using that even in training, immediately you have to buy again, because that explodes again. So it's like bullets.
Right.
You immediately have to buy again. Yeah, and so it's recurring. You have to immediately replace that. That order was part of the scalability of initial production, ramp up to production. For those that follow Mobilicom, with this partner, we had in the past, in 2024, 2025, purchase orders every few months of, let's say, $200,000. Then in the end of 2025, we scaled for pre-production ramp up of 1.5, and then production scalability that started with 2.2. And you can imagine the trajectory of that, because many have to be fielded. And once you complete fielding the first battalions or more, 10, 20, you then again have to replace, because they use it, all the units again and again. So it's a cycle every 2-3 years. You have to redeploy it again.
Yeah, and from 2 to 80, that's quite a few just from that one. So that's one tier one, right? And
Yes,
so,
this is one tier one customer. The original budget that was dedicated for this program was about $249 million, but that was pre-Ukraine. It was pre-Russia manufacturing in millions. It was pre-Iran. And we all know that if our adversary moved to produce millions, 3-4 millions of drones a year, and we here in the United States are stuck with thousands, we have to close the gap. Yeah. Closing this huge gap means that we have to manufacture 10-fold, 20-fold times in order just to get closer, not even to close the gap. And I'm not talking about China, which is way ahead in the numbers and capabilities of production. So it's not about value and capability, it's about volume. And you need this volume. Why do you need a rifle if you don't have the bullets? So the drones and the kamikaze drones or loitering munition are the bullets of the future. And this is where we see that you need always to acquire more and more in order to train or to defend yourself. And from that case, the $250 million, we believe, is only the beginning. It has to be 2 times, 5 times, 10 times bigger in order to start closing the gap on our adversaries. And all the programs of record that were delivered have to scale. So now you understand that if Replicator 1 and Replicator 2 programs by the Pentagon for drone adoption that were 2 years and 1 year ago were $1 billion each, and now you see the budget $70 billion, you understand they went 70 times in order to start closing the gap. So what I'm saying is not dreaming. This is what needed in order to close the gap for America.
Yeah, and that's where the numbers, investors struggle to understand that it's going from 1 to 75 was the number that they're asking for. And that's just a 1 year number. That's a singular number for 2027. So that number recurs again the following year. It's probably going to be bigger the following year.
Most of them told me, did they miss by a zero? Did they add a zero by mistake?
Yeah, right. Is
that
true?
The reaction? Could it be true? Yeah. Am I dreaming?
Yeah. No, some of the individuals, I have some buddies who follow the drone sector really closely, and they were trying to get it through to me just how big it is. Because even like the Gauntlet 2 program that's coming up now was like a $1 billion program or something coming up, I think in August or something. But 75 billion, if that goes through, it's a real inflection for the entire industry. And I think just understanding that it's a good time to be invested in drones and robotics too. I mean, that's coming along as well. And so, the order sizes, we've talked about that's been increasing and accelerating, right? That's just from the one. And from my understanding, this one company probably gives you some multi-year visibility in terms of that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Or I did hear potentially that this company could take you to cash flow positive. Is that correct in your assessment?
So, I mean, if you're looking on such company and you understand that, let's assume that they will produce 1,000 system a year, which is nothing, basically nothing. This year will be much more, but never mind. Let's assume 1,000 units a year, right. And we are providing multiple units per system. And let's say for each system, we are providing somewhere in the range of $4,000, $5,000 per system. Okay. And just take this plug number. Okay. Double it by 1,000. It's $4 to $5 million. If you take 5,000 units a year, which is still low number, we are getting to $20 million a year. So obviously, if United States have to deploy hundreds of thousands of drones and produce that on a yearly basis, which is nothing closer to the millions that 3 million that Russian did and 5 million that the Ukrainian did last year. So this company and other programs and other companies under other programs have to move to the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands a year in order to close the gap. Yeah. So you can imagine. So even with 5,000 a year, they bring us to $20 million, which is way, way above the cash flow positive line for us. I'm not saying it will happen overnight because they have to ramp up production from 1 shift to 2 shifts to 3 shifts and more per month. And there is a cycle of ramping up, but it's happening. There is a production side. The production side is working in the United States. There is teams that are supplying a monthly rate and increasing There is deployment starting from June to the Marines. The Marines are going to use them, and then the cycle is going just to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, well, the analysts are looking at that too, because so when I started doing my due diligence on your company and started getting really excited about it, the analysts for full year 2026 are anticipating 196% revenue growth, followed by 98% the following for 2027. Those are some pretty big growth metrics. You know, if you're an investor and you see that, it kind of opens your eyes. But the big thing for you as well is potentially, as the analysts see it, potentially EBITDA positive exiting 2026, with it actually accelerating into 2027. I have a chart here that I can share it with everybody. Is that kind of what you're seeing as well then, in terms of that?
So I believe that based on the progress of the programs of record that we are working with our partners and additional ones that are in the process, and the fact that those customers are moving into production. So as the programs are being granted and they are moving to production to fill those programs, and if everything going according to the time, then within 3 to 4 quarters, we can get to cash flow positive. This is what we said.
And these are multi-year programs, right?
And that's the beauty on program of record. Program of record, right. If you compare it to other procurement processes, and it's guaranteed that you have a specific budget lines on the Pentagon budget, which is dedicated for usually 5 years and then extended to 10 years of budget, that says that this is the procurement in order to fill that. And that is used for mega programs or significant programs with specific book of budget and rules under America, which you can call it, this is the holy grail that everybody is eyeing, because that's guarantee multi-year continuous business, guarantee budget for this company, and they can then build production and sites and procurement based on that. And that's why it's important, which we solidified that Mobilicom has right now a projected stream of revenue that is starting what we've seen and will increase as deployment is increasing and momentum of production is increasing and so forth. So yes, the beauty is we have at least 5 years of starting point with initial budget that I believe, based on what we see in the industry, have to scale 5, 10, 20 times bigger in order to start to close the gap in America. And then that's guaranteed continuous business and solid future for the company. But that's not alone, because we are not working with just one platform of this tier one. We are putting an eyes on additional platforms of different vendors, and we love to work on the hardest things, which is the tier ones that we believe that can scale to masses, okay? And therefore, we have under our belt multiple other players around the world, which are tier ones that we're working with. And some of those logos are advertised and seen on our deck, on our presentation. But in addition, we're working on new ones. And part of the things that we promised for 2026 is that we anticipate that we can increase from 6 tier 1 drone platforms to anywhere between 8 to 10 drone platforms. So we will have more players on the higher level, bigger players in this industry worldwide. And so that increase our trajectory of growth over the coming years. Mm-hmm. And we will have some of them in the beginning stage of R&D and our research development work of a platform or being embedded on a platform. There will be ones in initial production level, so they are already delivering to customers, and there is initial production level ongoing, and some that are scaling to mass production, like the one that we've mentioned right now, which is already scaling to mass production and will accelerate and accelerate. So, and having such 8 to 10, you can imagine a race and there is 20 horses and you have 8 or 10 of them. What are the chances that you will win the race? Right. Or be one of the 3 and win big time? So that's the situation. And the beauty in this market, it doesn't matter if you're one of the few players that is getting a significant portion of this market. That's it. You guarantee huge business.
Yeah, and that's why I like the agnostic providers, because you can go with multiple drone manufacturers and you're not just going into one. That's really what I liked with Amprius, and that's what I saw. And I'm seeing it again, just you're doing it for security purposes.
So
obviously,
if we look on the strategy, is we are starting with the essential hardware, which gives communication between the drone and the operator, and in the coming future, drone operator to multiple drones, and the clusters of operators working with cluster of drones, which is more and more and more units in the field for each system. So, that's one thing. And then we continue by adding the electronic warfare software to fortify it against jamming, interception, and so on. And then we continue to offer and cross-selling the cybersecurity for the autonomy based on NVIDIA or Qualcomm AI at the edge. So we are starting with one piece and then cross-selling the others and increasing the value of Mobilicom solution within the drone system value. So we can start anywhere between 5 to 10% of the system and increase to 15 to 20, and then go to 30%. I don't care how much, which logo is coming on this drone, as long as they are using 20, 30% of my elements inside, and I'm making the money.
Mm-hmm. And once you're embedded with the hardware too, that's huge. I mean, having hardware and
the
software
hardware
combined
is the foot in the door. This is the real estate that allows me to then piggyback and cross-sell the other elements, which are software, and therefore it's easier. Once you penetrate with one thing, you have the relationship, you have the work, you have the engineering, you have the procurement, you have the finance working with the other company and processes that are running. They trust you as a partner, and then it's easier for you to cross-sell additional elements through the same pipes to the same company. And by the way, you're hosting it on your hardware in the drone. So for me, it's easier to do the integration. Yeah. Right. And that's the beauty and that's why we chose this model. We didn't want to, because some investors said, you have many elements of the drone system. Why don't you build your own drone? And I said, I don't want to be one company with one logo of one drone. Right. I want to sell to all the specific drone manufacturers, all those components. And that's important. It's like the analogy of the vehicle market. You have, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, each one is making few cars, but there is Bosch and Continental that's selling the subsystems of cars to all car manufacturers. So you see Audi and Mercedes, but 60% of the parts of the system behind the hood is Bosch and Continental. They're making money, whoever is making this year the best model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good being a component company like that. And that's what I look for.
That's component company is one thing, and then more software and operating system, because every revolution, hardware is becoming more competitive, but the software operating system and on are the one that stay for long and making the gross margin and the profitability business. That's why we are starting with the hardware, but having the layers of software and cyber that will give us the gross margin and sustainable business that will not be under effect of hard competition as the market is going to, high volumes.
And being NDA compliant is huge. I mean, that's something that I saw Amprius had to go through too, especially on the hardware side. Having that, for those of you who don't know, is really big. The margin profile obviously is good. 60%, you're telling me, on the hardware, up to 90% on the software is great. And also, you recently canceled an ATM that I saw, right? So in terms of cash on the balance sheet, raises or anything, and you also have little to no debt. Is that accurate as well?
So we are a very clean company. We are very modest in our operation. We are trying to be very slim and plan ahead. We are very working methodically, and then we don't have any debt, don't have any credit lines, don't have any conversions or whatever. So very, very, very clean sheet. And then on top of that, the reason we canceled the ATM is, yes, we had this vehicle, and I believe as a CEO of another company, you always have to have some different vehicles in the market ready for usage. Right. But on the other hand, we finished last year with $19 million cash in hand. We have additional $14 million to receive from warrants when exercised. So that will bring us to somewhere like $34 million cash in hand if all will exercise. And they are in the money. And then we are consuming few millions dollars a year on a burn rate. And the business is growing, so we are shrinking, and we can move to cash flow positive very fast. So I don't need the money that I have in the cash in the bank right now. So why hold the ATM?
Yeah, the operating leverage is very high. And for those of you who are looking at the company, it's a pretty easy company to follow from a cap table and things of that nature. follow from that perspective. And that was something that I saw too, that I thought was pretty interesting, that you have little to no debt, canceled an ATM. And yeah, the setup is intriguing to me, and that's why I'm happy to be able to be speaking with you about this. I know our time's getting close to being short. You know, as the CEO of this company, are there some things that you can share that maybe you're like most excited about, or anything else that investors maybe want to pay attention to in the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, so for the coming weeks, I think that if you understand the methodology of Mobilicom, that put foot in the door with the hardware and then add the software and cybersecurity and cross-sell, and then you're increasing your footprint and the percentage of the drone value that you are making profit from. If we are able to expand that with additional products that will come to the market and that will give us from the same drone platforms access to more revenue on each system sold, so you will see additional elements that we are releasing soon, which is part of our funnel of solutions that we are going to release this year. So one of them is going to be released really soon. And to be honest, it's not something that we planned. We are working with the tier ones that are working with the government, and the government deployed into the Department of War give us the feedback, hey, we would like to go to this kind of operational scenario, and therefore we will need this kind of unit that can do A, B, C, D. Can you provide that in addition? And then we've done that and working on that behind the scene, and then we are going to introduce that, and that will be part of additional elements will be sold with each system, which again increase my value with every system sold and increase my revenue for every system sold. So I want to move from $2,000 to $5,000 to $12,000 per system sold, and then I'm making much more revenue and obviously more profitability. So that's something that you should expect. More solutions in the market that are going to deliver that. You are going to see that we have made our promises on scaling with more players. We said that we are going to have more players by the end of the year. So we will reveal that that we are moving forward and what is the success and where we got with that. And that's important because additional platforms of tier ones means additional market market share. And those are companies that immediately have sales for those platforms. So they don't have to we don't have to wait very long in order for that to convert into initial revenue and then revenue ramp up. So that's things that we are expecting to do. And on the cybersecurity side, we were again going to have additional players within the camp of Qualcomm and NVIDIA, which are making the autonomy computers or drones for drones robotics that we are partnering with, that are going to resell our cybersecurity on top of their solution. So more and more and more of that activity is happening. And we are working very hard behind the scenes to make our company successful and the shareholders happy.
So are you talking, so we talked a lot about like military applications and things of that nature. Are you also looking into commercial applications? Is what you're talking about when we're talking about with NVIDIA and things of that nature?
I think that first, the NVIDIA and Qualcomm solutions are already being adopted by the military drones and platforms. Right. And they are using that, and that will and all the drones or robots have to move there and have the NVIDIA and Qualcomm AI at the edge to be able to run autonomy. Because today having, it's like having a car that doesn't have navigation and doesn't have safety and doesn't have all the things that we are used to from the recent years. So drones have to move to autonomy capability to carry the missions in the new battlefield and the new security or the new borderlines activity or whatever. In the commercial market, yes, obviously, if you have a drone that is inspecting utility of gas and oil, or elements that are doing delivery, or elements that are providing other important commercial applications, autonomy of running those drones is crucial because you don't have enough pilots to run enough drones, right? So they have to be autonomous. And by the way, they are more effective, more cost-effective by doing that themselves. From the moment you have that, cyber is one of the most critical things that you should have. And therefore, our cybersecurity and on the edge and on the cloud is a must thing to have for every deployment of autonomous systems on robotics and drone that are going to scale in commercial markets.
Yeah, it's incredible just what's happening with the whole industry and in general. I mean, for us who aren't aren't as into it as you know, for me, in my world, I run event and facility management class at the college, and we're worried about open air drones coming into our stadiums, and how do you protect for that? So obviously, if somebody was able to get access to that and it's not secured, that's something that's obviously we're concerned about too. Given the limited time for the interview, I know I appreciate your time and being able to be here. Is there anything that I haven't asked that maybe I should have, or anything you think that's worth mentioning at this point before I let you go?
I mean, there is, I'm excited to talk, and especially because the industry is moving very fast. We see the industry moving very, very fast. I think that I'm excited from the funnel of the different programs of record that are going to be released. And we see one after the other that have to come either for mass production or for going to be released. We've seen, we are now participating in many exhibitions and shows and meetings with the government in the coming weeks. And then we made a list for ourselves of all the programs of record that are right now in the funnel or in the process. And it's a very, very big table that is increasing, which shows you why they need a $75 billion, which surprised me as well, because it's a huge number. I didn't expect that, in order to field all of them fast. And that's part of the game. How many players we can work with on different platforms that we can take for those programs. And as the program is scaling in the next 2-3 years, that's it. We are growing and growing and growing. And that guarantee, I mean, if you have $75 million for 2027, that guarantee there is enough budget to create a huge industry momentum, which is mind-blowing in the sizes that we are talking, in order to close the gap of America. And every month we have another milestone that is then released, that is just showing the hyper growth stage of this industry, which is just beginning.
Yeah, I think that's my takeaway from it too. This is an industry that was very small, niche, minuscule, and now it's going to become ubiquitous, right? It's just going to be everywhere.
That's it. I don't think that anyone can stop this trajectory. It's like,
right.
If the budgets are there and the governments are there, and there is compelling events that is happening on a monthly basis, volumes are increasing, and then you have enough players that are going to scale that. But then on the other hand, you have regulations and standards and different validations, and only few companies are in the basket that can enjoy these fruits of scalability. That's if you have 5 companies in one field or 2-3 companies in another field, it's not a lot. I mean, it's nothing compared. And then you are going to pour so much water on them from the sky.
Yeah,
you understand that it's going to happen. I don't have to.
I understand the numbers. I just don't think everybody sees it, and they'll probably see it in your results coming up here too. So.
I mean, it will be. I mean, it's not going to happen very fast, but it's happening. And is an investor for long term and doesn't look for the next few weeks or few months. That says, okay, I want to sit, dock, and let it grow. If I was an investor in my portfolio, not that I'm recommending, I think that robotics, drones, autonomy, and cybersecurity are mandatory things to have on your investment list.
Yeah, the thematics of them are huge, and I think everybody else can really see that growing too, and they'll start to see it in their day-to-day lives. And so, Oren, this is amazing that you came on. I learn every time I have an interview, I learn more and more about a company. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. And so anybody who's unaware, this is Oren Elkayam, the CEO of Mobilicom. The ticker symbol, for those of you who are interested, is MOB. Thank you again, Oren, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you for the discussion. Thank you all.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.